Hello and thank you guys for watching. In this video I'm going to be inspecting and disassembling this cylinder head here that you guys saw me remove off of our 4-liter project in the last video that I made. This particular head here is either from a 93 or a 94 Jeep Wrangler YJ. The reason why that is important is because, if you can see there, this is a 7120 casting number, and throughout the years that the 4-liter was produced, they used several different castings, and this is one of the more desirable ones. Some of the casting numbers are more prone to failure because they crack easily, or several different things. So be mindful of that. If you're going to be working and spending money on a cylinder head, you might consider doing research on that particular casting before you invest a lot of money into it. That doesn't mean that this head is going to be perfect, but there's a better chance. So I'm going to be disassembling and checking the valve guides and the valve seats to see if I can get away with maybe just lapping the valves, changing the oil seals, cleaning it up, and running it as it is. If that's not possible, of course, which is more likely, I'm gonna also check the surfaces of the head for warpage. If they're not within spec, then I'm gonna have to take the head to the machine shop and have them resurface the head and put it back within spec. So that's gonna be our video for today. Let's get started. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is remove the old gaskets that I left in place. The reason why they stay on in the first place is because when I store the head, in case it tips over or something falls on top of it, that offers some level of protection to the machine surfaces. And you can see here there's already a break in the gasket, so it's probably already leaking exhaust to some degree. Let's see if this one comes out as easy. This is the head gasket. It's a little bit more stuck than the other. Okay, so far nothing seems out of the ordinary. I don't see any obvious cracks in between the valves or around the chamber. The coolant passages themselves, some of them seem to be clogged, but actually these here, I believe they're also blocked in the gasket itself, so I don't think they would cause any problems because they're not open to begin with. These here seem okay, and there's a little bit of a buildup. Nothing serious. A little bit of corrosion right there. I hope it doesn't go all the way to the valve seat. And there's nothing obvious that I can't see on the head, and this obviously just needs some cleaning. gonna grab a flashlight and look inside the ports. Well, I couldn't find my flashlight, but I will be using the flashlight on my phone in order to light up inside the ports and hopefully get a good look inside. This is the first exhaust port here, and if you guys can see it, looks, the valve itself looks a little bit discolored from the heat, but no signs of moisture in that one. There's one of the intake valves. I don't see any oil or any buildup on the guide or on the stem itself, so that looks okay. There's another intake valve, also same condition, pretty good. There's an exhaust valve there, and on that one there is very little moisture at the very tip. If you guys can see that dark part right there at the end of the guide. I'm gonna check the condition of the valve seal on that one. There's another intake valve, looks pretty good, no buildup. Another exhaust valve, a little bit of moisture as well. That one, a little bit of moisture as well. And then the intake looks clean. That's an exhaust valve there, it looks pretty clean. No moisture on that one. All the intake ones look almost perfect. No signs of oil anywhere. Yep, and that one looks okay too. So I'm gonna clean up the gasket surface now, and maybe I could remove some of this valves so that I could see the condition of the seats. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all the remaining material with a gasket scraper, and I will show you guys what it looks like afterwards. I wanted to show you guys the progress that we've made with the head so far. I'm pretty much done scraping off the remnants of the old head gasket from the surface. I did that by using a gasket scraper. I went very carefully all the way around the surface of the head gasket, removing whatever remnants I could get to with this. I also did the same thing up here in the intake and exhaust area of the head, and you can see that most of the head gasket is gone now. Also did the same up here where the valve cover gasket sits. Once I was done with the gasket scraper, I went very lightly and gave it a pass with this metal scrubbing sponge. So very lightly I just went all around all the surfaces that I touched with these, and also the surfaces that I couldn't get to with the scraper, and that's what gave it the aspect that you see right now. Next up, I'm gonna be looking for my straight edge, and once I find it, I will be able to use that in order to determine whether the head itself is warped or not. So I'm gonna go and find that, and I'll cut you guys back on so that you can see the process. The next step will be to determine whether the head surface is flat enough that we can reuse it as is, or whether we need to take it down to the machine shop for resurface. We're gonna determine that by using a straight edge and also a set of feeler gauges. I'm not sure what the specific tolerance for the head gasket is on the Jeep, but I checked on the Velcro website, and it says that it should not exceed 4 thousandths. So I'm going to be checking with a 3 thousandths gauge, 2500 gauge, and 2000 gauge. The way that we achieve that is by taking several measurements all along the surface of the head. For example, you would take a measurement down this edge, so also down the middle, and down this edge as well, also in between each one of the cylinders, and also diagonally, and like that. The way that you use this is as you lay the straight edge down, you are gonna go and attempt to fit this gauges and in between the surface of the head and the straight edge. If for any reason the gauge fits in without resistance, you know that the head is warped enough that you have at least that much clearance. But in my case, I am hoping not to exceed the 3,000s. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And that's going to let us know whether this head is good enough to run as is. Okay, I just went on Google and did a little bit of research regarding the 4-liter heads. Basically, I wanted to find out what the factory recommends as far as out of flat tolerances. According to the Haynes manual, there should be no more than 2,000s variants. If you guys remember, I was just able to fit a 3,000s feeler gauge in between the surface of the head and the flat edge. So that's a little bit, that's a full thousands more than what is recommended. I really want to avoid taking this head to the machine shop, so right now I was sitting here thinking whether there was anything that I missed, and sure enough, I went ahead and got myself a new razor blade, and I went all around the head to remove the remnants of the head gasket, and inside the compression ring I cleaned off the carbon buildup all around this area here. After doing that, I did the measurements again, and the biggest feeler gauge that I was able to fit was the 2500s. So that is just a tad bit more than what the Haynes manual recommends. However, we got to keep in mind that what I am using is a straight edge that is about 24 inches long, so about 2 feet. So that is basically 4 times the amount of surface that they're checking. I like to walk the line, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and run it as is. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna remove all of these valve springs and see if the seats are looking okay. I'm gonna lap the valves and reassemble it after giving it a good cleaning. I'm gonna show you guys right now in a minute. I just went ahead and numbered all the valves, and now I'm gonna go ahead and mark the springs as well, and then I'll start disassembling it. Alright guys, so as I was working on the head, I realized that I don't own a valve spring compressor, and I wasn't gonna let that stop me, so I had to get a little bit creative. I'm gonna show you guys the hidden gem in the video. This is what I've been using to remove them. If you want to see my setup here, so this is a regular old C-clamp that I found laying around, and I used This is a brake line wrench. What you see in between the C-clamp and the brake line wrench is one of the washers that is used to hold the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold on the Jeep. It's one of these here. So that's what I've been using, and you're gonna find this funny, but if you're ever in a pickle, it works pretty well. Let me show you guys. Hopefully I can focus the camera so you guys can see. Alright. Look at that. You hear that pop? And that is gold right there. So what you do next is just fish it out with a little magnet or something, and they come right off. Alright, I got one of them out with the magnet. So now I want to push the other one inside, and hopefully when I undo this, it's gonna come right out. Sometimes you just gotta get a little bit creative. There you have it. Okay, so now with the head fully disassembled, we've come to the end of our inspection. I'm going to share with you guys some pretty disencouraging news. The valve seats seem to show a pretty large amount of pitting and surface corrosion. I'm not sure if it's possible for you guys to see it with this camera, but you can see there's definitely some pitting and rust formation on the seats themselves. I'm not sure if lapping these valves will do anything. Probably going to try it just to see. This is probably the worst of all the valves, and you can see it better in the valves that they are pretty corroded. Those are the exhaust valves, are the main ones. The intake valves don't look as bad. So to anyone doing a rebuild at home, I would definitely just take this to the machine shop and let them deal with it. Also, these are the spark plugs, the 4-prong Bosch plugs. I'm not sure why this person was running this in their Jeep, but okay. Yeah, so there you have it. So we've inspected the head and came to the conclusion that possibly the best route would be to have the head rebuilt by a decent, reputable machine shop.